Hey there, my name's Julie, and I purchased a 12-month subscription to ScrawlrBox. It's an art subscription box out of the UK, and every month I do a quick unboxing and tell you my first impressions of what's in the box. I'm a little under the weather today, so my inner Kathleen Turner is coming out in that kind of hoarse, scratchy voice, so I hope you'll bear with me. There are a couple coughs and a cough lozenge or two that go into this video as well. So here is the sticker this month. The candies, even in the color theme. Here is the Scrawler zine with some information about what's in the box, and this is the artwork. Pretty cool. Alexandra Olivia. So the part of the Scrawler zine that's the most important or interesting to me is always the tips, the artist advice, and the things to try. So here from the artist, understanding the color code. Each marker has a code that corresponds with its color to help you find specific hues and blend colors nicely. The code starts with a letter followed by a set of digits. The first letter in the code represents the color family. For example, R equals red, Y equals yellow, BG equals blue-green. The first digit refers to the color saturation. The higher the number, the lower the transparency is. The rest of the digits indicate the brightness, with 000 representing the brightest color and 9 the darkest. Okay, so this is red by the R. Then the 4 should indicate that it's fairly transparent. And then the 6 should indicate that it's fairly bright, I believe, since 9 is the darkest. So maybe it means actually, sorry, that it's fairly dark. And then the other 2 are a yellow, a blue-green, and again, you can see that they're fairly transparent with a 0 and a 1, and then this is 5 on the darkness and 2 on the darkness scale. So these are some suggestions on blending and layering. Blending, she likes to start with the darkest color before gradually adding the lighter colors in, and she suggests layers. The more layers you add, the darker or more intense the color is. And then on things to try, it says the markers are refillable and tips are replaceable. For seamless coverage, slowly work your marker in small circular movements across the area you're coloring. It's best to use the brush nibbed end of the marker to blend. So there's 2 tips. So they're suggesting using the brush side to blend as opposed to the chisel tip. For best results, blend while the ink is still damp and settling into the page. And then they say, if you prefer to do your fine line work with the fine liner first, wait for it to completely dry to avoid unwanted smudging. It's worth noting, yellow ink pens are notorious for being extra smudgy, so use this pen a bit more care. Use this pen with, I think they're missing a word. So let's take a look. So they've given you marker paper, which is important, obviously. If you're working with Copics, you want to make sure that you have paper that's going to stand up to it. This is a kneadable eraser. If you've never seen these before, I've really only used these with charcoal and not with pencil, so it's interesting to see that they have included a pencil, although there is the charcoal from last month still sitting on my desk. I'm taking the plastic off the kneadable eraser. I've never had one that came in a fancy case, but basically you can like rip off a piece and it's an eraser, and you can make like a tiny little thing for you to be able to erase. At least that's how I've always used it, and then you just sort of stick it back together again. It's kind of like silly putty. I've always just had a ball of it sitting in my sketch case, but I like having this little case. That's really nice. This also feels stickier than other kneadable erasers I've tried, maybe because it's so nice and sealed up. Then this pencil, which one of the nice things about this pencil I can tell just by holding it is these bumpy dots on here. That has a really nice grip feeling. This is from Faber-Castell, but also it's slightly triangulated instead of circle, so it's not going to roll anywhere. Like, it's going to stay where you put it. So about the pencil, it says here, one of a kind and extremely popular amongst the art community, the Grip 2001 pencil is easily recognizable with its ergonomic triangular shape that features the iconic and distinctive non-slip comfort grip for guaranteed fatigue-free use. The surface coating is also made from environmentally friendly water-based paint technology, first introduced by Faber-Castell. It's no wonder this pencil has won 6 design awards. So in terms of what they say about the kneadable eraser, they say a good kneadable eraser should be a staple in every artist's kit. They're fantastic for erasing detailed areas as they can be easily molded into any shape you require. This Faber-Castell eraser is kneadable and absorbent and will leave no residue or eraser shavings behind. It's applied in a flip-top case to keep the eraser clean and safe. So about the marker pad, they say this acid-free paper works beautifully with pen, pencil, and alcohol markers. That's what Copic markers are. And it's specifically formulated to prevent ink from bleeding or seeping through. This paper allows for color richness and vibrancy and is perfect partner for your Copic markers. And then about the pen, they say this fine line pen features a smooth flowing pigment ink that is waterproof once dry. They've emphasized that you need to let it dry several times, and fade proof even in continuous exposure to light. It is ideal for all types of art and design, including sketching and detailed technical drawing with a steel supported polyactyl nib. I hope I said that right. This pen provides a delicate and fine yet sturdy tip that is perfect for everyday use. Okay, so let's take everything for a spin. I'm going to just remove a sheet from the pad, and since the fine liner needs to dry, let's go ahead and just put out a couple. Should we just do some little doodles? So each month I like to create something just using the supplies that are in the box, kind of as a challenge to myself and just to see what it is that they've included in here and if you really can make art with just the contents of the box. There's some kind of marking on the edge of the pad that I don't really love, but it's a minor quibble. I'm not sure how long the pen takes to dry, but I'm just gonna come in with the pencil for fun. So let's see how the erasing goes. So you can see the reason there's no little tiny bits of eraser that come off is because basically the pencil's transferring onto the kneaded eraser. So I keep folding it over to kind of give myself some new space. And especially with a dark line, it doesn't really erase. It kind of removes or lightens. Okay, I'm going to think that this has to be dry by now, but what do I know? Okay, I have to totally admit, I come from a paint background, so when people say blendable, this is not what I think of, but okay. So years ago, I remember the big deal that everybody talks about Copics is that you don't get the lines, right? Because the way that the alcohol in them goes, you don't get the coloring lines. So it's more like flat color. I don't know. I don't mind lines. I feel like they show the hand of the artist, but I also know my style of art is not everybody's style of art. I do own some Copic markers, but I really only use them for airbrushing. Definitely not a fan of the chisel tip. I got to give full props to the marker paper, though. It really only came through a tiny bit, and I'm doing very heavy application, so impressive. So anywhere that I've let the Copics dry, you can definitely see it looks more streaky, as opposed to if you keep working in an area when it's wet. I know that Copic markers have legions of fans who adore them and can't imagine using anything else. I think they're not for me in the style that I work. I want to see if I can get an amped up green color here. I'm sure the Copic police will come for me, telling me all the ways in that I'm using the markers incorrectly, and that that's the problem, and it's not the marker's fault, it's my fault. I do think it's important to understand how art supplies work and to pay attention to people who are experts and all that kind of stuff, but I also think it's important to know how you like to work. And if a tool requires you to work in a way that isn't a way that you like, then it's not a good tool for you. It may be a good tool for somebody else. We don't all have to like the same things. Can I get this to orange, or is this yellow not strong enough? Is this red too strong? I can get an orange with a little bit of a dirty brush. If I keep pulling this red into this white space, I can kind of get a orange. Well, that makes me wonder, is this allowed? Can I kiss these two markers together? See what happens. Kind of a big blemish, not what I was hoping for. Maybe go into a wet area instead of a dry area, maybe is a better idea. Let's try that again. Yep, just needs to go into a wet area. Learning, learning, learning. Wet area. Wet area. No, I definitely have some red on here. I think I would have really liked a white pen with this for going over the top of stuff. I mean, I do have a white pen, so I could use it, but I'm just saying sort of as a kit for me instead of the pencil, which is nice, but it's a pencil, or the kneaded eraser, I'd rather have a white pen, maybe a white paint pen. This was a perfectly fun and fine box. Nothing wrong with it. I appreciate Copic markers are spendy. It was great to get them. This is a really nice black pen. Pencil's great. Kneaded erasers have never been my favorite, but they're fine. I like the color selection. The paper's fantastic, I have to say. I give much credit to the marker paper. Almost nothing really went through. You can see how saturated the paper is. Totally fun. I just am not that much of a Copic person, but, you know, to each their own. I would say fun. Glad I did it. Probably just going to store these away and maybe use them someday. So overall, totally fun box. Not my personal style, but I think it was definitely value for the money. Copics are very expensive. I'm just not a kind of marker person, but I remain hopeful that next month will be even better and will be the painty box of my dreams.